This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 256, recorded on April 14th, 2016. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy TV studios here in Belton, Nebraska. Minus one Mike Weger. We have lost Mike Weger tonight. Actually, he was planning to be here, and some things came up, and he had to gracefully step out. I have another Omaha guy. We'll meet him here in just a second. But, of course, we do world-class show notes each week. Actually, they're not out at theaverageguy.tv. You can also join us live on the mobile app we have available for you. It's easy to subscribe on and get the. Actually, you don't need to subscribe at all. You do need to log in to on Spreaker to do it. Of course, it's a Spreaker app. They built it for us, sponsored by LastPass. If you head out to homegadgetgeeks.com and say this every week, download it. It's really a one-click download. Put it on your phone. It makes your own app for Home Gadget Geeks, and you'll never miss it. You can listen to it live on the road. It is streaming, and I just asked Spreaker this week if they were going to update their app to allow for downloads. In the Spreaker app now on Android, you can get downloads. The iPhone, not so much yet, but I'm hoping they'll update our app for us, and eventually you can do downloads and maybe kind of replace it or use it like a podcatcher. But so far, so good if you want to get access to that. Like I said, it's great on the road. You have to stream it, but you can stream it I'm pretty sure you can stream it in an airplane. HomeGadgetGeeks.com, and of course, Home Gadget Geeks is the part of the Geeks Network. Find the link to this show and many other great podcasts out, including Home Server Show, which we just did one of last night, and we only do like when the moon phases into full moon or something like that. I think we're doing one a month at this point, but pretty good Home Server Show. A lot of home automation. I got an email from, let's see, who sent me? Ernesto? No, let's see. Sent me an email. Where did that come in? Maybe. Oh, it was on the Average Guy Facebook page, and said, yeah. Ernesto said, hold on, I'll read it word for word because I think it's pretty good. I think that's where we saw it. Something about lately we've been doing home gadgets like home automation on Home Server Show, and then we did Unraid the other day, and we'll talk about Drobo tonight. We've been doing more storage on Home Gadget Geeks. But head over to the Geeks Network, thegeeksnetwork.com, and you can get access to all those podcasts. Some really good ones out there, and those guys have been keeping them updated. So load them up, get them done. All right, well, tonight's good night. I said Mike Weger is out, but we have kind of a pinch hitter. Another guy from Omaha, and you know him. You know this guy because he hangs out in our chat room all the time. PTD is what you know him as out there, but he's on. Peter Dennert is his name. We don't know that except for now. You know who he is, what he looks like. Peter, welcome to Home Gadget Geeks.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No, good to have you. I gotta apologize. I was at a conference. I was trying to podcast. You were trying to get my attention. I kept putting you off. I was like, can you? I can't, And you're like, no, I need. So I finally said, okay. You're like, hey, I'm PTD, And I'm like, oh, why did you say so in the first place? I thought you were just trying to get that stamp, and because it's infotech, it's vendor bingo. But yeah. Let's get a little background on you. So an interesting fact that we found out in the pre-show. You're actually from Fishers, Indiana, which everybody knows. Dave McCabe lives there right now. And so, born and raised there in Indiana, or was that just kind of was it high school, or how long were you in Fishers?
Born and raised, lived all of my life there.
Yeah,
in the same house.
That Fry's that we go to on Meetup, apparently pretty close, right?
Yeah, 2 miles away from it.
Yeah. So. Like, you probably spent a lot of time, I would imagine, at Fry's?
Yeah. I really miss it now.
Yeah, we don't have, Omaha does not have a Fry's. Well, so here's what's the weird thing. So Peter grew up in Fishers, and back in 2010 came to Omaha to go to school here. And actually, same school I went to, so I'm a Grace University grad. And Peter graduated from there. 2014 was the graduation date for you?
Yeah.
And I was 2007. So there's a little separation between the two.
Yeah.
But so you listened to both Home Server Show and Home Gadget Geeks, and you lived in Fishers, and now you live here in Omaha. How weird is that? That just seems weird.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy when I found that out. I was like, that's that's just crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Brian says he's the other person to chat with me on OMN. Yeah. So open mic night, right? It's always you and
Yeah.
Brian hanging out there with Uyghur, and we always appreciate that, by the way, when you guys are out there in the chat room hanging out and do that. I always hear, because I listen to open mic night just as well as you guys do, and I always hear him quoting you uh, in the podcast. So pretty cool. So and then you've got a podcast of your own,
Yeah.
and you're on. I was just looking you up. Pete's Tech Den, right?
Yeah.
And you're on episode 36. Is that right?
I think I've behind on posting.
Oh, okay.
I
So you've
have
got a
up
few in the
to,
hopper, but basically you've done less than 50. So you're somewhere
yeah.
in.
I
When
think
did
like
you?
41, 42.
Oh, good. And when did you? What was the genesis for that podcast? Why did you want to start doing it? It's always nice that you have the gear. I appreciate that because it makes it easy to bring down my show. But what was the genesis for your podcast?
Well, it was actually, um, I was watching your guys's, and you talk about times where people would send you stuff, and at working at Grace, we don't have a lot of money, and so I was like, it'd be kind of interesting to maybe start a podcast where maybe talking technology stuff, where maybe we could get somebody to send us something to try out in an enterprise environment, and then talk about it. That actually hasn't happened. But I figured,
Yeah.
they're not gonna. I'm gonna need some kind of a proof of concept to
Yeah, you have to
do a
kind of get
take it.
going, right? You got to kind of get some things going. I mean, the first year of Home Gadget Geeks, we didn't have a tech scholarship fund. We didn't have people sending us things. I'll talk a little bit about the kangaroo coming up, but we didn't get that kind of stuff, and it takes a while. You just kind of got to get going. The big question is, are you having fun? I mean, that's really, if you're enjoying it, who cares? I mean,
Yeah.
are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of difficult trying to keep up with topics and stuff like that.
Yeah. Pretty much a solo show for you. I mean, is it just you, or do you have guests on, or how do you do it?
It's been mainly solo. I've had a few shows where I've brought somebody else on. We're actually occasionally we've dived into some of the like moral issues and some of those kind of other issues that could come along with technology. Um, and so some of them actually I've had my roommate on. Um, he actually was on the first one where we talked about like whether like you would ever create AIs beyond like that would be better than humans, that would like surpass humans.
That's cool.
So
That's a cool topic. Do you take into account, so Grace University Christian Liberal Arts School, so we all graduate with some kind of Bible degree of sort. That was always the big deal when I was there. You get a degree plus Bible. Trust me,
right.
I had a lifetime of Bible while I was there. I've studied that more than anybody else will in a lifetime. I can quit right now and never have to worry about it. But do you try to bring any kind of that kind of Christian perspective into it from a tech angle? That's kind of cool. I've never done that here, but do you try
Yeah,
to do it?
especially in those shows where you're talking more about the moral issues, that definitely plays into that. Because when you start coming from that angle, you kind of, I don't know, it kind of feels like, it's got to be there,
Sure.
as a Christian.
Right. Yeah. No, it's
But yeah,
right
but yeah,
on.
some of the more technological projects, it's not so much there. Just
Yeah, just doing straight technology. You'd mentioned that you mentioned earlier that one of the things, you're working in a school, not a lot of money, working for a job. You're working for the school, right? You also
yeah,
work for Grace. And so you have kind of gone completely Linux from an OS standpoint, and you even just bought. I didn't even know you could do this. Did you buy a laptop that's got Linux on it? Isn't that like
yeah.
free? Is it? Can't you just get? How does that
Well,
work?
I mean, you can get
Yeah.
the operating system
Right.
free.
Right.
I was just more of buying the hardware, um, and you know, because I bought it from System 76, and it was the first laptop that like the first time I saw it, like it kind of left me salivating for it. Like, and it was the first laptop that had done that wasn't an Apple computer.
Because you'd been Apple up until this point. Ever
Yeah.
been a Windows guy, or has it just been Apple most of the time? And
I mean, growing up, we had like a Windows computer for like games and stuff like that, but other than that, it was all Apple,
yeah,
you know,
so you go
from
from really expensive, right, to pretty inexpensive when we think what'd you pay, or what was the price range for this? Because it was new laptop, right?
yeah,
And they're building
yeah.
it for you. And then how much is that? I mean, pretty good specs. What are the specs on that?
The specs are pretty sweet, 'cause it comes with a quad core i7, um, and then I got it with 32 gigs of RAM, DDR4, um,
You gonna turn this
and
thing into a server, or
I
if you
don't.
can, right?
I
If
mean, I could.
yeah,
I mean, it's really cool because if I wanted to, I can actually take it up to 64 because it has 4 RAM slots.
right. So it's pretty expandable. I mean, we don't often think of laptops being that expandable anymore. They're kind of all
Yeah,
soldered together. But this has got the ability to upgrade it from 32 to 64. So just
right.
two chips in it for now, and you could put 32 more in there, two 16s, right?
Yeah,
If you're going to dual channel.
but
For
yeah, and then it comes with a 3 gig, I think it's an NVIDIA GeForce graphics card.
oh, nice. Do you know the
Um,
number on that?
I can look it
Oh,
up.
the mobile version. So, but is it 670? I don't even know anymore. I should be better about it. It's been a while since I've worried about graphics cards.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean I guess like the biggest thing is it has space for 4 hard drives.
nice. So it's not
Um,
really a laptop. I mean, this is like a desktop you can carry around, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 15-inch and it weighs about 5.5 pounds.
Yeah, pretty heavy,
So,
but not
um,
too, not too.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, it can take two of the M.2
Mm,
drives and then
yep.
two 2.5-inch drives.
Nice.
I'm getting it with just two M.2s that are striped.
And how big are they?
They're just both like 128 gigabyte.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yep.
I figure it's just gonna be enough for like the OS
Yep.
programs, that kind of stuff.
Yep. Stripe for speed.
Yep.
Yep. Cool. That'll be fast.
Yeah.
That'll be pretty fast. And then what version of Linux do they put it on, or are you going to put it on when it gets there?
They put it on. I can always change it to whatever I want after I get it. Um, but it's Ubuntu 15.10. So
That's I assume that's the latest version.
yeah, they're getting
I,
ready to come out with 16.4. So
I give Ubuntu a try about once a year, and I run it for about a week, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to go back. It's just easy. I'm spoiled, right? Because we have this, it's just renewed on my MS or on my MVP for Microsoft, and of course that comes with a really sweet MSDN subscription. So I'm pretty spoiled when it comes to that. But so Ubuntu 15 on that, and then what? So from I assume at Grace, you're a help desk guy for Grace, and so you do a
yeah,
lot of their. That means more than just fixing and repairing. You probably do a lot. You kind of do whatever they need to have done, right? From a network
yeah.
and right, it
I mean,
covers more than just desktop.
yeah. I mean, I'm dealing mostly just with the desktop, just because um, well, I'm the youngest guy there, newest guy
You're the
too,
new
and
guy. You're the new
yeah.
guy.
Um, So I'm dealing mostly with like end users and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, we have a
Is there is
net.
there a lot of is there a lot of that? I mean, is it kind of moving around? I mean, it's a spread out campus. Do you have to do classroom support? Is there that kind of are you that kind of tech guy where if the tech doesn't work in the classroom, you're the guy that shows up?
Yeah, I mean, if the tech's not working in the classroom, we definitely get called, and depending on which of the three of us are available,
Right.
um, usually it's me. So
They just look at you and you're like, all right, I'm out of here. That's good though. It's good training. I mean, it's in my early days of help desk, I started back in '99. I started a commercial federal bank here in town, which has become Bank of the West. That was
Okay.
the Bank of the West, used to be called Commercial Federal. And I was a help desk guy. They hired me on. It was early Y2K, and they knew they were going to do some conversions. And I knew a little bit about the bank and a little bit about computers, and they were going to teach me the rest, which was pretty cool. And I worked in the help desk, and for 6 months, we had three locations in Omaha, and I would drive around. We'd get calls, and I'd drive around, go out to the locations, and it's never as easy as it sounds. And you got those problems that never want to go away, right? And
Yeah.
we discovered in our time there, we discovered that our mortgage department was running their whole operation on 36 linked access databases, right? They had hired some wizard guy who could do all that stuff in access. Now, granted, this is 1999. Okay, this is like early days of access and some of those kinds of things. And so one day the guy quit, and so a week into it they were like, hey, how do we do this? And we're like, we've no idea. Yeah, he never told anybody. He was, it was one of those situations where they built this without anybody knowing it.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, so it was pretty
Happens.
brutal. You probably
Yeah.
see some of those things, probably not as much at the school, but
There's, I
st-
mean,
it
we
still
have like
happened.
yeah, we used to have like a Wi-Fi system that, well, we paid a vendor to set it up, and now we don't pay for support anymore. So
Yeah, you're the
that's,
support.
yeah, when something breaks, we're not exactly sure what,
Yeah,
how the system works and
how to fix it.
fixes.
Kyle, Kyle Wilcox, he's in the same boat. Works for a school district. I hear from him from time to time. School districts, colleges, same thing, right? Money's always tight. Nobody ever wants to spend any money kind of on that. So, well, so you got this laptop coming in. It's literally sitting. It's here in Omaha, right?
Yeah,
It's sitting at the post office.
it's yeah UPS.
So UPS has it. They'll deliver it tomorrow for you,
Yeah.
so you'll get it. You gonna have it delivered to the school, or is it gonna come? Is it gonna come home? I just need to know
Uh,
where to be standing when when it shows up.
I had it delivered to the school.
That's cool.
I've had problems with them delivering stuff here and not leaving it, so I just have it delivered to work all the
Yeah.
time now.
No, with that kind of thing, you're smart. So, when we think about, so you're here in Omaha, so is Mike Uyghur. I am as well. We are actually all really close. I said we need to get that Omaha meetup going on here. Some of the guys have been saying, why don't we just do a regular meetup? I think there's folks who would drive from other parts of the country to be a part of an Omaha meetup. So I always say we have at Gallup where I work, we're doing a big gigantic strength summit this summer, July 18th, 19th, and 20th. That's about all I can handle for a summer, plus the 40 interns that will be a part of the program, and we have a lot of stuff going on. So, well, cool. Well, you'll get your laptop tomorrow, and that replaces your MacBook Pro that
Yeah,
you've already returned. Is that
yeah.
or sold?
Well, yeah, I was able to, yeah, because I'd been going back and forth with the Apple store with about a problem with
Hmm.
my, they couldn't seem to fix it. It was
The
only,
genius guys couldn't fix it. Too bad Uyghur's not here to hear that. Uyghur, if you're listening.
yeah, 12 trips to the Apple store.
And that's all the way on the other side of town here. I mean, it's
Yeah,
a commitment. I literally is in the farthest part west to
yeah,
get to the Apple Store.
that's the only reason they were willing to let me return it, even though I'd had it for 8 months.
Oh wow.
But the last 2 months, like, had hadn't I was having problems with the Wi-Fi. It would, like, the longer the computer was on, it would begin to drop in and out and start to drop packages, and it was never it would never happen there when I
Right.
had it.
No, it never does. It's only there when it's only at your house. You said you kind of started this show around this idea of reusing old tech and what can you do with it. I'm assuming a little bit of that's probably happening locally for you there in the house. You got any really old gadgets that you're still getting a lot of life out of there in the
Yeah,
house?
because actually Grace was they uh because originally I started working there as a student worker, and while they were throwing out some old stuff, which I quickly would just put on a cart and cart up to my room.
Yeah, no, right on. That's sometimes the best. I did the same thing at Computer Renaissance. The years I worked there, people would there was no value in it. We wouldn't buy it, and they'd be like, "Well, just trash it." We'd say, "Oh, we'll recycle it," and we'd take parts home, right? And you just
Yeah.
build, old Frankenstein rigs. So what do you got? What device do you have that you would consider old, but you're still getting tons of value out of?
I mean, I got like lots of old computers. I've now I've had they've gotten rid of second batch, so I've just replaced. So I think I've got.
Did you actually get rid of when you got the second batch? Did you get rid of the older ones, or did you hold on to them?
I ended up sending them off to a recycler, um,
What
who
were they? How old were they? Don't
they
say
had
like
like
486.
they were like Pentium 4s with like usually like at most like a gig of I don't know, usually like a half a gig of RAM.
Yeah, half a gig.
Yeah,
XP, probably. Most
yeah,
probably. Yeah.
yeah. It had one that had 4 RAM sticks in it for a grand total of 256 megabytes of RAM.
Dude, that was a lot of RAM back in those days. 256? That was expensive.
But yeah, now I've got some. They're mainly I think Dell Optiplex. They're still Pentium 4s, but they all have at least a gig of RAM. Some of them have 2 gigs.
Yeah. And what you just put Linux on it? Is that kind of what you're doing with them, or what do you do with them?
Well, I have one of them that I turned into a PF and
Oh,
put in
nice.
some um, used graphics or Ethernet cards, so I could have gigabit. Um, and let's see what else. Then I have one back here that's actually does a couple of different things. It runs Miss TV off of it.
Hmm. You've been
Um,
trying to get me on Miss TV for a while. I might have to have you help me with that, but
yeah,
yes.
it's kind of funny because actually I started using it on a computer I'd built with. That's actually the one I'm on now, which had like 8 gigs of RAM. But after a while, I figured out that it really wasn't using enough all the resources. So I moved it to Pentium 4 with a gig of RAM, and
And that's
it
good
does
enough?
it does just fine.
Yeah, so Miss TV, so for folks who know, Media Center or don't know, Media Center replacement, right? And does it have
Yeah.
channel support? And would it work with my Silicon Dust
Yep.
tuners?
Yep. I've actually have it hooked up to a HT home run.
Okay. Yep. Same thing. I
Um,
have two of them. Yeah.
but yeah, so I just use it as the back end of it, because I actually have another little computer that I kickstarted, um, that runs the front end, which is Kodi.
Sure. Yeah. So and it didn't need you didn't even really need power to run that at all, huh?
Yeah, 'cause it's running that, and then it's also running it's a Tornado. It's a server software.
Yeah, no, we had they made little devices, little handheld
Mm.
devices for a while that you could buy. Man, they got temperature of the sun hot when you would run the tornado plugs is what they
Yeah,
were, and you could plug them in, and they were kind of meant to be storage devices that you would plug in and you could access from the web. But holy crap, those things got hot.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just use it for They have a couple of features that are really nice.
So I didn't realize. So that's software. That's open source software. That Tornado software that you can use, and it's like an own cloud, right? Is that what it
Kind of.
is? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, 'cause, I mean you can run it on Windows, Mac, Linux.
Right.
Um, yeah, I just use it because if you put the app on your phone, you can have it auto sync all your photos
Yeah.
back to your server. And then it's able to stream like music. So I've actually turned it into kind of my podcatcher because I have a podcatcher on the Linux box that pulls down the podcasts, and then the Tornado picks them up and now allows me to stream them.
Does
And you
it
can
put
do
it in a
it.
playlist for you so that you can have a podcast playlist when it brings them
Uh,
in?
you can
Or-
kind of put it. You can put it in when it scans through like the metadata. 'cause you can go to like the music section and it's got it broken down into albums, and you can look at albums or artists or genres.
Right.
Um, and it's really nice because you can either stream it to your phone or you can stream it through like a web browser. And if you want to, you can actually download it
Is that
to
how you
your.
typically listen to Home Gadget Geeks? How do you when you listen to this show, how do you listen to it?
I usually use YouTube because I like to watch the video.
Oh, nice. You're one of the seven that I that watch the YouTube. Actually, we get tens. I mean, it's in the 40s and 50s almost every week. So we get quite a few that watch the YouTube. You're one of them.
Yeah.
So if you're not live, then sometime on the weekend do you catch it? Is that kind of the rhythm, or do you stay current, or do you get behind? And if you get behind, do you just scrap it, or how's that work?
I usually stay pretty current because I'm able to like listen to a lot of stuff at work.
Yeah, that
I
would be
try to
nice.
I try to keep it at least technology stuff because I figure then it's at least some kind of professional development kind of stuff.
PD. You're doing PD. Yeah. No, that's cool. It's a good way to do it. I get feedback from a lot of guys who say they listen to it on the floor. They're in manufacturing or whatever. They got it in
Mm.
their earbuds or they're playing it, in the background. And I think it's a great way. It's a great way to do it. It's just it's. I know. Oftentimes on Saturday morning, Mike Howard is he's got Ask the Podcast Coach on, and it's just noise while he's, and every once in a while he'll pipe in. But no, that's pretty cool. So that's set up. The you've got is that all on one box then? So it's doing Media Center. It's got Tonito on it. It's got Cody on it. It's
Cody's on a different machine.
Cody's on a different. Okay, but it's got the back end for the TV. It's collecting the podcasts. It's putting them. You're streaming them out through Tonito or downloading them that way.
Yeah.
That's all running off one kind of Pentium 4,
With
2
a
gig
gig
of
of
RAM,
RAM,
a gig
1
of
gig
RAM.
of.
And what's the OS?
It's running Ubuntu 14.04.
And that runs just fine on a gig of
Yeah.
RAM. Huh? Nice. Well, there's something to be said for that. I mean, we think about these NAS boxes. They don't. They're running most of them are running some kind of Linux distribution
Yeah.
on there. They've got really crappy chips, and they work just fine. Speaking of that, are you working on your own NAS, or what do you use for file storage? Typically, what do you keep things on?
I mean, right now I have stuff mainly just on external hard drives as I'm trying to transfer stuff over from stuff I pulled off of my Mac. Um, and then right now I just set up a free NAS that I'll on one of the servers that I bought. So
Yeah, I asked why not Unraid. That seems to pop up in the chat room every 5 minutes, and now we've got two Unraid guys between Howard and Mark out there, and we got to do another Unraid show so we can get Mark on. But so you're gonna go with FreeNAS,
yeah.
and why?
I don't know, I've heard really good things about it. A lot of the backups and stuff are, the ability to do like snapshots and stuff, which allow you to really do it because it basically takes a snapshot at a specific time, and you don't have to worry about it, getting different parts.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've heard a lot of good things about it, and some of the Linux podcasts I listen to.
So what's your favorite Linux podcast? I can't even imagine listening to a Linux. They throw me out of the Microsoft club, but although it's a whole new Microsoft, like they're embracing everything now. It's kumbaya, everybody come together.
Probably my favorite is probably there's probably a couple. I listen to one that's called TechSnap, which is the system and network administration podcast, which it trends to a lot of Linux. And then also Linux Action Show. They're both on the same network.
On the same network. And is it just like this? Couple guys talking and giving out information and like helpful stuff and community and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Like they do a variety of things. Like Linux Action Show, they've got like they have like picks of the week, which are like useful programs that you could use, and then they'll have like a runs Linux where somebody sent in something about some area where somebody's running Linux. And then they usually have a main story where they talk about some project, or sometimes it's some program or new, you know uh, like recently I think they talked about 1604 coming out and stuff like that. So
Cool. Yeah. No, I've not ever done a Linux podcast ever. That's just never has happened. Never been invited. Never talked about it very much. Although we dabble in it here, right? I mean, when we think about Home Gadget Geeks, and I think it's becoming more. I hear, at least from the audience, more and more using it. Anyways, I hear more people using it these days, and so I think it might be making a kind of a resurgence in the, especially in the home space,
yeah,
trying to get stuff done. I think about my Drobo. It's got a Linux variant on it, on that's running. We never see it, but
right.
it's got the variants. And then you'd mentioned PF Sense, and that kind of got you into our community. You were looking for Sophos versus PF Sense. I actually, we'll talk about this here in a little bit. I actually shut my PF Sense router down last night. So I turned it off, and I'll tell you why. Actually, no, it's still running, to be honest. I just unplugged it. But no, it's super cool, and that was kind of I say I don't do this, but I have 2 or 3 devices that are probably running a variation of Linux in the background.
Yeah, I mean, PSense is based off of BSD, which is different.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. No, okay. If you want to be exact, whatever. It's all open source. I guess from that, I can cover. If I say open source, I can cover it, right?
Yeah.
Is that good? Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody on the other side, all my open source friends are screaming at me right now from their car. Sorry, guys. It's my ignorance. I'll plead ignorance to it. Peter, let me ask you this. So, from a future, as you look ahead, future technology, what do you get excited about? And I know you can't just go out and buy the latest and the greatest, right? I know you can't do that. But as you look ahead, what are you kind of drooling over? If you could get into an ecosystem of something new, think about all the stuff that we're talking about these days. What would you go with?
Well, you guys have talked a lot about the Echo, but this summer there's coming out a open source version of it called the Mycroft, which actually helped kickstart, so it's coming in July.
Oh, good.
And it's
But
based.
that's not the Amazon variant of it, right? This is a whole different, or is it based on
Yeah,
the Amazon?
it's
Because
not
the
based on.
Amazon Alexa or the Echo, that's open source, right?
Yeah,
Anybody can download that software, put it on equipment. You have to have some special stuff and to make it work, but you can
right.
create your own Echo. I've seen those videos,
Yeah,
but this is
yeah.
different.
This is different. It's also based on a Raspberry Pi, um, so it's gonna be really cool because I've done some things like dealing with kind of the privacy concerns about the always on, in that all of the processing for listening is all done locally. It's only basically the only part that's done in the cloud is when it has to, take your words and turn them into text to be able to execute commands.
But that's got
Um,
to you've got to bring a pretty enormous code set forward if you're going to do all that locally, right? You got to have a pretty extensive code set to bring forward to be able to do that kind of voice recognition, right?
I mean, I guess I don't know exactly all of the inner work, but I mean, it's running on a Raspberry Pi, so it's
Yeah,
because all it has
true.
to do is listen for that one word, I
Right.
think. Um, but it's got like all the ports exposed, so there's gonna be a lot of really cool to see how people will integrate it with other things. It's gonna have a lot of support pretty much out of the box with, I believe it's compatible with IFT and uh, I think Wemo and
So some of those same hubs and some of those same integration or some of those same
yeah.
automation
Yeah, and
sites.
it'll work with like the Roku to be able to access things like YouTube and Netflix and stuff like
That'd
that.
be cool. And you said it's Raspberry Pi based.
Yeah,
And is it just a Raspberry Pi with some speakers, or are they actually making a device to
they're
make it
actually
look
making
like?
they're
The
actually
Echo?
making a device. It's got like eyes and a mouth and stuff to.
Leave it to the open source community to make a robot. That's pretty cool. And so that's due out July, you said?
Yeah, yeah.
They
They've
didn't make
sent
it?
out. No, they're gonna
Hmm.
send.
No, I mean, are they going to make the July deadline? Sorry.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I from everything that they've been reporting, they were able to send out the early development models on time. I just sent those out in April.
If
So,
I wanted to buy one of those, could I still, or is it only something you had to be in the Kickstarter to get going?
I mean, you can pre-order and they'll probably come later than.
Yeah. What's the retail price now if I was going to try and pre-order? Do you know?
Um,
What was the Kickstarter price?
the Kickstarter price was 100.
Oh, that's pretty reasonable.
I think retail price I think now is maybe like 120.
So, so Peter, let me ask you. Okay, so that's not too bad. But let me ask you. Okay, so let's say price isn't. I'm buying this for you. Do you
Hmm.
buy this or do you buy the Echo?
I buy this.
And why?
I don't know. I've gotten into this whole open source stuff, and it's a lot of the flexibility that it brings, and I mean just the openness and being able to control my own data. Um, it's just I don't know.
You know how
That's
happy you're making people right now? There's like a segment of the audience who normally, and I don't know why they still listen to me, but they do, who every week grinds out like, Jim, why don't we, open source? We could do it on here. I see it in the chat room, right? We could grind this out. And I'm not that kind of guy. Right now, there's a population of the audience who is crying in joy because of what you just said there. Like, no, I would not do the Echo. I definitely would do this because it's open source. And that's pretty cool. It's hackable, right? It's the hackability of it and the ability
yeah,
to extend it and some of those kinds of things, right?
yeah, and from everything they've said, they're working on some ways to make it fairly easy to for the average person to extend it and do some things. So I'm really excited to see
Yeah,
where
that's cool.
I'm hoping somebody will integrate it with Cody because I really want to control my Cody with my voice.
Yeah, no, that would be cool. That would be cool. That's one of the problems is that you gotta wait for the community to kind of do it. And if it doesn't work, you can always wipe it out and put Amazon's control on it, right? That's available for you. You can pull that down, and that would be giving in to the enemy, basically. But you could, because it's Raspberry Pi based and the things that I've seen. But well, that's cool. So that's coming out in July, and you'll
Yeah,
you'll you'll get that and integrate it with your new laptop. And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
so
The other part of it is that they've actually, because I mean, they're also making a version of it that will go onto Ubuntu computers, so you can bring it to the desktop too.
yeah. So a little bit of Cortana, if we think on the Windows side, that's bringing Cortana to Linux from that
Yeah,
standpoint. So you'll have voice control, which is great. I think we're moving in that direction, and it's still bad on every platform. Even the Echo is not great. I mean, it's okay. It's adequate. It's better than anything else.
yeah,
Siri, I just want to throw out the window sometimes. I'm like, come on. I expected more from you, Siri. I can't even figure out how to do it on a Android device. It's a weird, Android's voice commands are weird.
yeah. And it doesn't always work. I don't
No, they
know.
don't always
It's
work.
not.
And God, don't get out of an area, like you're saying, don't get out of an area that's not connected and try and get anything done because you're screwed, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Siri's particularly bad if her connection's not very good. And so it's like one of those things. I have not been messing around. I should. I got Windows 10. I have a couple Windows 10. In fact, if I say, "Hey Cortana," now this one's shut off. She'll pop up, and that in the Microsoft ecosystem is getting better. But I'm still not that excited about it. We do have a dot coming. It'll
mm,
be here next week. So next week's show we'll have a dot, and I wanted the dot because it's got audio out and it's going to
mm,
get up channel in the board and it will become a part of the podcast. So we'll figure out a way to get audio in or a little speaker or something. So if somebody wants to, but we'll bring we'll probably bring, this is going to kill some people. We'll probably bring an Amazon feature of the week into the podcast and kind of follow it, kind of follow it that way of just Amazon sends me an email every week of some of the new features, and so we'll probably do that and let Alexa do her business.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it'll be kind of
I'll
fun.
be able to do that with Mycroft too.
Would that take an audio input? Where, because like this has been the drawback to a lot of these, is you can't, like I would love to I'd like to have an in and an out so that I could have it
Mm.
listen to the podcast. Most of them have a speaker, have a microphone, but they don't have audio in.
Yeah, I don't know. It would have USB, it has USB ports exposed, so you could always. I would figure you probably could plug in an external sound card.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
And
got one of these. This isn't it, but it's like a Plantronics card like this, and it's got audio in and out on the
yeah,
ends. That would probably work pretty well. Huh,
but yeah, it'd be
I'll have to
interesting to
try it.
see. I don't know whether
You
it'll work or anything like that,
you
but
should try and bring it into your podcast. That would be kind of cool to have a virtual member. Because I'd love to be able to say in the podcast, hey Alexa, set a timer for 2 minutes, whatever those things are. Tell us a little bit about Alexander Hamilton, and she'll just go off on,
yeah,
hey, whatever sports score, some of those kinds of things.
yeah, it's
I
kind of
think,
interesting because like there's in this space there's actually smaller companies that are like light years beyond anybody else. I'm trying to think. There's like a forget, one of them is like a Jibo, and there's another one. I forget what it is. But they have the ability to like follow whole conversations and be able to switch topics and then switch back to another topic and track it all. And I don't know. It's like
is that a bot? Is that using bot technology to follow the conversation?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like it's like an Echo or a
Right.
Mycroft or something like that, except they're doing I think the Jibo also does video and able to do voice tracking and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Other
they're,
Jim says in chat, somewhere there's a lonely Ubi. We did Ubi for a while. That was kind of fun when we brought Ubi in.
but yeah,
Yeah.
those cost like several $100s.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit harder and I think the price will just come down. I think we'll just get better. They'll just get better. I've kind of for us, Amazon just works. It's a consumer device. It's a gadget device. A lot of people have, and it just works for the most
Yeah.
part. Tony is saying his Google Now works, and it probably does. It's been a while since I've done Google Now, and I'm sure it's gotten better. I never really liked it. It didn't. It was better at predicting what I wanted than hearing what I was saying when I was on the Android. Man, I tell you what, it was so weird. The other day, I pulled down. I have my Android phone up here, and I pulled down. So I was comparing our mobile app, I think, on Android versus the iPhone. And so I turned the thing on. Let's see. I guess I need to turn it on, and I don't even know how to operate it. I am like, where did I put that? It's so weird when you switch. And I've been on Android a long time, and when I switched to iPhone, and I'm really comfortable with the iPhone now, but coming back to Android was like, holy crap, where is stuff? So I struggle a little bit. Well, okay, so a little bit of AI in your future. Anything else you're looking forward to as you think maybe about the rest of the year? Anything you got your eyes on or you're excited about or you're going to do as soon as you get that laptop in?
Um, I've got some stuff I just got. Now I got to mess around with. Couple of, I've gone into all these supporting all these Kickstarters
Yeah, that's
recently.
cool. That's cool.
But I got some switches. They're fairly cheap for what they support SDN, which
And
is
what's that?
that's software defined networking,
Okay. Okay.
which just basically means then it doesn't necessarily have to go all the way back up to the router to be routed to its. It's one of those things that's probably not going to benefit my network very much, just because
Sure.
it's
But you'll
more
learn
for.
about it. You never know when that'll come in handy.
But yeah, so I got a package of 4 of those.
Oh, cool. And
Um,
where do they go? It's a device? Is it how does that work?
Basically, I mean, you have the switches, and then you'll have one central controller um, that basically communicates with the switches to let them know, help them figure out what the optimal paths are. Um,
Yeah. So as it learns, like, okay, it needs to do this and this, it's routing it directly to where it needs to go.
right.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So you'll be monkeying around with those coming
Yeah.
up. So cool. Well, it sounds like, I mean, you'll have a busy summer. This is the great part about gadgetry, right? I was talking to somebody the other day about the podcast, and I said I never run out of topics. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
just if you run out of topics, just wait a week.
Yeah.
It completely changes.
Yeah.
So.
You stand still in it, you're now behind.
No, right on. I was just driving home today. As I was driving home today, and I was thinking about what we talk about on the show and some of those other things. And I really went. There are nights when I do this. I just feel like an absolute idiot because there's so many things out there now. You can't keep track of them all.
Yeah.
And there are times I feel like I should, but I can't. You cannot. You can't physically keep track of it all. It just isn't like you have no idea what's going on with Windows. Don't really care, but if
Well, I know some because
so,
I
but
work in a Windows environment at
but you
work,
probably
so
it's Windows. You guys on Windows 7
yeah,
mostly?
I did try out the beta of Windows 10 for a while.
Hmm. Yeah, the experience is getting better. Let's just put it that way. It is
And
getting better.
yeah, and then I've dealt with with students that
Right.
update or get the update forced upon them. And
More
Windows,
tricked. More
yeah,
tricked into it than anything
yeah,
else, right?
yeah, and uh, Windows 10 has issues with our Wi-Fi network, so
Oh, it is painful. It is painful until you get all those things worked out.
yeah,
You know.
we have to go in and like edit the registry to get it to.
Oh, that's just painful. That's just that I you know it
Yeah,
shouldn't have
we
to be
we
that way.
we created a script to make it easier for us.
Right. Yeah. No, good call. Good call. But it's still keeping track, even on the Windows side. And I'm supposed to keep track of all this stuff. I listen to podcasts to help me keep track of it all because
Yeah,
there's tons of, and I listen to them at like a 1.5 speed because I got to get through them. Yeah, there's tens. Gallup is moving to Windows 10 too. And I couldn't tell you the percentage deployed. I am running Windows 10 now on my laptop at work. To be honest with you, it hasn't changed my job at all. We have disabled Cortana, so it's not showing up. Although they didn't realize they had left the pin option available, and of course I set the pin right away, which is nice. Little four, and you're in. And the network guy was like, "How did you do that?" And I'm like, "Maybe you should know." Like, you're the guy that should probably know what's coming up in Windows 10 with Windows Hello, and with the pin. The pin's always been available, but nobody ever used it until Windows 10 came along. So it's been, yeah, so every morning I have breakfast with him, our network guy,
yeah,
and I said, hey, logged in with my pin in this morning, still works, because he told me he was going to shut it off. I was like, oh no, still works. And so it's we are making the move. I've upgraded the podcast studio at Gallup.
mm,
Uh, two of this How many do I have? Two, three, four, five. I guess I have 5 PCs in there. Two of the 5 have made it to Windows 10. I keep scheduling Friday afternoons to move the other ones up, and then I keep pushing them back. Like, oh no, I got another thing to do. I got another thing to do. So we'll see when we get those. I don't see that much of a lift from 7 to 10, but I know there's some things under the hood, and Microsoft really wants to get them changed. So
yeah. I mean, a lot of the key features aren't completely finished or to the point
yeah.
where they'd be
Well,
useful.
right on. Yeah. Yeah, and we have an anniversary update coming in July that is going to introduce a whole bunch of new stuff from what I've heard, and so that'll be pretty cool. Um, If you haven't updated by then, you might want to. I've still not heard if Microsoft's going to extend the freeness of it, and so at a minimum, I might upgrade to 10, capture the license key, and then take it back to 7, and that way you've at least have the 10 implemented, and then when you're ready, you can upgrade to 10. So that's a pretty good way to get it done if you haven't done that yet. And it hasn't broken too many things for us. It has broken some stuff. So obviously you see it every day as to how it does.
Yeah. There was a point where we were doing, we could do like 12 or 15 machines every day. Yeah.
Did
But
you do in-place upgrades, or just blow away the image and throw a new
that
image
was
on
just
there?
fixing their Wi-Fi. It's
So when
just
you upgraded, when you upgrade, oh no, you haven't upgraded. You're still in Windows 7 for the most part.
yeah.
And
As an organization, I don't think we're going
I
to
wouldn't.
go at Windows 10.
No, I wouldn't. I just leave it. I just leave it as well. One of the things. Oh, go ahead.
Plus, because we're not included in the free upgrade, so we'd have to.
Right. And you're probably not paying the very expensive software assurance bill, are you?
Yeah, I don't know. We have like Windows 7 Pro, I think.
Yeah.
Is what I've been.
Well, what matters is, do you have that software assurance? That's the big deal
Yeah.
for Microsoft, and it's the annual maintenance. And if you do, you get, yeah, that goes way beyond the scope of what we're doing. Well, for me, we talked about this a little bit last night on Home Server Show, but I just picked up the OnHub,
Mm-hmm.
Google, and this is the TP-Link version. I bet they have an ASUS version as well. Pretty cool. A couple of the things that, and this is why I talked about the pfSense router here being completely disconnected. I set the hub as an endpoint, basically just a Wi-Fi, just a Wi-Fi endpoint to begin with, and it was doing great. And I thought, well, I wonder what would happen if I let it serve everything from that standpoint, So late last night, I unplugged pfSense and plugged everything in. Had to reboot every computer to get it, because it's not on the same subnet, so it had to change subnets and do some things. Configured, mess with the app on the OnHub, which is I really like that you can modify your settings for the OnHub off of an app instead of having to log into some. You know how those administrators you probably get. The average guy gets kind of screwed when he gets in there on that. But so I went from maybe 4 devices at any given time, 4 to 6 devices at any given time, to now 15 to 20 devices, and I actually got more speed out of it. So I'm thinking the network card I had in my pfSense router was old or not fast enough, because I went from 50 down to 100 down as soon as I switched routers. And that makes me think that that card, either the WAN or the LAN card on the pfSense router was struggling a little bit to keep up on the download. So for now, we've moved all the machines over to it. This has got all, when we talk about Wi-Fi, it's got all the A, B, G, and AC. It's got AC 1900 coming up as well. It's got that simultaneous 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. That's pretty standard on most routers now at this Wi-Fi routers. One of the interesting things it comes with, though, is this congestion sensing Wi-Fi radio. So it's got 13 antennas in it, and it's always sensing for talk about the best route with. It's always sensing what channels and what's going on, and it's trying to adapt to make sure you get the best Wi-Fi. So, do I get it? I don't know. I haven't checked it, but it's on the it's on the box, right? It's got to be cool. Got to be cool. Bluetooth Smart ready, 802.15.4 ready, which we're not using yet, and then Weave ready, which isn't even released. That's still in. I think that's still in early stages of development at Google. With the Weave stuff coming up. So from a pure, it's supposed to be a Internet of Things hub eventually, and so there's some cool things coming with it. Right now, still kind of sketchy. I don't know if I'll ever get that use out of it. But as a replacement for a Wi-Fi router for a Wi-Fi router that was locking up every 6 hours, a little pricey, $185. For it, so this is top of the line that you're paying. Really cool boxing, Apple-esque boxing. You open this up, you pull the top off, and then this opens up like that, and it's on the things on the inside, and it's like Cookie Monster. So some good packaging. So far so good. That has been a for me. That has been a really cool. It hasn't locked up once, which is great. I don't expect it to be honest with you. This was interesting. I didn't know about this when I bought it. 4 gig of space in there, built in, so that they're like, don't worry, updates, whatever, because they're going to be constantly updating this, right? Through
Right.
Google's going to be updating it. And so they were like, yeah, 4 gig. Well, we put 4 gig of memory on it, so seems to be enough. I'm sure on this TP link, this $30 TP link, one that it's got probably like 256. That's the 256 Pentium Pentium 4 version,
Yeah.
right, of the Wi-Fi router. What are you using for Wi-Fi? Do you run Wi-Fi in the place?
Yeah. Yeah. I have it's a Netgear R6300. That just runs in access point mode.
Yeah. So you're running pfSense, right? And then you're just running that as access point. Man, I did that for a long time. It was good. I do kind of miss my, the pfSense dashboard. That you could kind of see what's coming. Where's my phone? You could kind of see. I thought I brought my phone down here. Oh, there it is. You can kind of see on the dashboard. But the one of the things I really like on this OnHub is, and I'll tilt it so you can see it. It runs these speed tests every so often and then displays them to you, so you get some kind of idea. Like my last speed test, 105 down. Yeah. I was like, wow, I've never seen that.
Actually, I set up on a Raspberry Pi to do that.
Yeah.
Because you can get a command line tool to test against speedtest.com. And then it outputs it into a spreadsheet on my Google Drive.
Yeah. And you just go to the Google sheet.
Yeah.
And well, I'd like this because it just does it. It does it for me, and I if I want to log in and check, I can do a speed test anytime I want. It gives me some ideas. Like right now, I can kind of tell here's the up and down, right? And so the purple is the up and the blue is the down. And I'm running I'm actually running quite a bit up with the video going on here. About 7. It's peaking at about 5 or 7 up because I got 2 videos going up to it. And then down, it's running about 5. And the kids are probably playing something or downloading something. But yeah, and then you get this cool little list of devices. Here are the devices that are attached to it, and you can kind of see one of the coolest little features I love. And I have 20 devices attached to it. You can kind of see right now. One of the coolest things, you can give priority to any one device at a time. So say like I probably could do this right now. So let's see if I'll find the let me find this Core i7 here, and let's see if I can give it. Let's see if it'll let me give it. I have to figure out how to do it again. But I could give it priority if I wanted to, and say this is a priority device, and it will put it in the top position and let the traffic flow. So, and you know what I don't know? One of the weird things about this, if the machine is coming in on Wi-Fi, I get a lot more control and a lot more information about it from a data perspective. If it's coming off the WAN port on it, or the LAN port on it, I don't get that. I don't get that same information. So it definitely favors Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
From that standpoint. So pretty cool. Go ahead.
Did you see the recent update on pfSense?
Yes. In fact, I upgraded to what's 2.3?
Yeah. 2.3.
And then I shut it off. So I wanted to see. So I did the upgrade. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. UI change, pretty significant UI change, right? From that standpoint.
Felt like it really brought the UI into the modern age.
Yeah, no, for sure. They did some, and they took out. There was some really, as I was reading the release notes for it. There was some. They were really using some weird back end or front end UI code that they completely stripped out and have gone pretty standard. I think pretty standard JavaScript. I think that's what they're using. I read through them briefly before I shut it off. It's not really off. It's still running. So don't anybody panic. The pfSense router is still alive at the Collison house. It's still running. I could pull it up any moment. Kind of left it on just in case my experiment of plugging everything in the house through the on hub didn't work. I kind of left it on. I alluded to this a little bit earlier too in the show about the Drobo, and this is the time last night I couldn't get any takers of putting dollar signs. You know the dollar signs. Have you been around long enough to know with Drobo that? So the old tradition, because I've been talking about Drobos for years, is to put dollar signs in the chat room whenever I would mention a Drobo, because they're pretty expensive, right? The Drobo 5N is about $550. You can get $100 off just about anywhere, so it makes it about $450, which is about the price of the high-end Synology if you were going to go with that. QNAP's going to be another $150 cheaper or so along those lines. But I'd kind of given up on the Drobo, and it had, the company. There had been a company that had the founders had started it, and then another group of guys came in and bought them out, and then had been running the company for about 2 or 3, 4 years. Did a pretty good job of getting them commercialized and out there, but very poor connectivity to a Drobo. It was local connectivity, and that's all you had, right?
Yeah.
So the guys that had originally founded Drobo went and founded this company called Connected Data, and they created a device that you would plug hard drives into, and you could do own cloud or some of your own stuff. They kind of had an interface. Well, the founders came back. They took over the company. They took the founders from Connected Data, merged with Drobo, and kind of that management team left, and it was a new management team, and it went dark. I mean, I didn't hear anything from Drobo for a long time, and I had been a pretty avid supporter and had some guys on the inside, and I thought, oh, they're dead. And I don't know what made me think of it, but I moved all my drives. I shut all my servers down, so I'm not even running a Windows server at this point. But I shut all my servers down, and I moved all my files back onto the Drobo. And I thought, you know what, my kids spent good money on this thing, and I should be using it, right? One of those things, right? You know the deal. It's like, got this piece of equipment. It was super expensive. I should probably be using it. So I started moving over. I currently have 2 3 terabytes, 2 terabytes, and a 1 terabyte, something like that, drive in there. And I've got it striped so that I could have 2 drives fail at the same time, and I would still be safe. So I could live on 3 drives, which gives me about 3.6 terabytes of storage off the Drobo. Good safety. If I ever needed to, I'd probably replace. I think I have 2 1 terabytes on there. I would replace those with 4 terabyte drives if those went bad, or if I needed more space. And that's a pretty good price point. So I was pretty content, and then all of a sudden, I saw these announcements from Drobo come out. I kind of follow their RSS feeds. And so Drobo has a new feature called My Drobo, as well as My Drobo Access, which now allows you to access, if you go to, in this case, myaccountname.mydrobo.com, I can access my files from anywhere in the world, right, like an own cloud. And oh, by the way, they also have an own cloud client. So if you're an own cloud guy and you're like, no, I don't want to use your Drobo stuff. I don't trust it yet. Well, they have an own cloud client that never worked before, and now it works, which is crazy. Like all of a sudden their software started working. So they have that. The MyDrobo piece works just like OwnCloud, where you can drop in and get access to your files, and can't stream them yet. Like they don't have an audio player. I'd love, that would, as you were talking about your stuff, you just play it natively, right from the app, right?
Yeah, from the app, and then, I mean, it's got the same kind of thing where you pick your beginning part .tonedoid.com, and you can use that URL to get to your server and access files and upload files and everything.
Yep. I had a Tonedo address for a long time that I think I've let go. But same type deal, right? And then the crazy thing about this is they put a WordPress install on there now. So you can go in, fire up a WordPress instance. It's your storage and your backend. I was kind of thinking, I wonder if I could host my podcast files on this thing, right? I wonder if I could put these out to the public and put an MP3. I'm gonna look into that to see because you can share them out, and I could create a folder that's a shared folder and then drop the MP3s in there and then link those in the WordPress instance. You know how all this works. You're a podcaster.
Yeah.
Are you using WordPress? Yeah, you are.
No.
But you're using WordPress.com, right, for your site?
Well, yeah, I'm working on moving over to a Ghost blog platform.
Oh, I'm not.
It's kind of a competitor. It's open
You
source.
always got to be different, Peter. You always got to be different.
Yeah,
I
and
like
I'm
it.
and I'm hosting it on my own VPS.
Yeah, you know WordPress is free, right? You do know that.
Yeah. Well,
That.
yeah, my well, it's free for the if you want the really long URL.
Well, you could though. I mean, if you had a little server space, you could. I mean, the software or the WordPress software is free. You got to pay
Yeah.
for the hosting and some of those other things, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
or you could do it on Drobo. You could just. There you go. I
Yeah,
got a
I'm
little. Go ahead.
I'm hosting on my VPS, which costs me $5 a month.
Oh yeah.
So
No, very cool. So yeah. So all of a sudden, if you go to, I think it's droboblog.mydrobo.com. That's the WordPress instance I have running right now on the Drobo, and that comes all the way back. The Drobo are actually sitting at my feet right now. That routes back around, comes and is served by the Drobo that's sitting right down there. I gotta say, Drobo's back, and so you'll probably be hearing a little bit more about that from me as they go. Yeah, Brian says Maple Grove Partners for $10. That's really that's from a hosting standpoint. If you can do $10 a month, that's the best deal going. Christian takes care of everything for you, and you'll never be hacked. Never, ever, ever be hacked. He doesn't let you. He calls me sometimes. Update your WordPress, or he just says I logged in and I updated it for you. By the way, new WordPress update out there, 4.5. If you're a WordPress guy. So I think Drobo's back. It's kind of crazy. I did not see this coming, and so pretty excited about what's going on at Drobo. Peter, one more thing before we kind of wrap this up. In Focus, our friends. I don't know if you got a chance to see the kangaroo that we got to Mike Uyghur, right? Little Windows
yeah.
box. They've come out with a pro version of it, and I think those retail for $199 or $250. I think a little bit beefier. They have a brand new pro that just is coming out. In fact, it's not even in Amazon yet. I think I tried to find it. It's not there. The guys contacted me today and said, "Hey, you want to review a unit?" We're like, "Heck yeah!" So I may have a new Kangaroo device coming. We'll get the guys to come back on the show too. That was a great interview with those guys. They're real rebels when it comes to hardware and Windows, right? Making that thing work. So
Yeah.
did you ever consider that little $99? I mean, that's a PC for $99. You could hack on it.
Yeah. I mean, my question would be whether does it run Linux?
Yeah, I think it would. I think you could put Linux on there. Why couldn't you? It's x86. It's 2 gig of RAM.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know about the connector,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
true. It's true.
drivers, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah, there was an issue because it had special drivers for Windows. So, yeah, that might be. You're right.
yeah. And then with things to go to like the Raspberry Pi, and then actually one thing, something that's coming out, and I'm waiting for it, is the Pine 64, which
Okay,
could
so
be
I haven't heard of that. Tell me about that real quick.
it's very similar to the Raspberry Pi, and it's a single board computer, except the big thing is their base model with 512 megabytes of RAM is $15.
Oh, wow.
You can get a model up to 2 gig. There's like a 1 gig for 19, and then a 2 gig for $29.
It's called Pine?
Pine 64.
Pine, Pine?
Yeah.
Pine 64. $30,
Yeah.
right? For the most expensive model.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
But yeah, so I've got a bunch of those coming.
Do ya?
Yeah, I've got
Which versions?
I got 2 of them that were the 2 gig models, and then 4 that are the 1 gig models. And they're going to be able to run Ubuntu, OpenHab, which is kind of a home automation open source hub, and then Remix OS, which is basically Android.
Right. You mentioned that the other week because I went to a site, I think, for that or something.
Yeah, I've got the Remix Mini.
Yeah.
That's what's running my Kodi.
Okay. And that's in a Kickstarter as well.
Yeah.
Peter, you're addicted to Kickstarter. Do we need to have a Kickstarter intervention?
I don't know.
Stop
I've
buying Kickstarter.
I've got I've gotten into checking Kickstarter and finding lots of cool things.
Yeah, I know. No, right on. Is this $15 price point going to stick once they go
I think
commercial?
that's what it sounded like from what they said.
I
They
love
they
their.
were they were a little overwhelmed. They weren't. I think they were expecting to sell like a couple thousand or something, and they sold like 10,000 during the Kickstarter. They raised like 1.5 million.
Wow.
It's just
Yeah, it really does look like a Raspberry Pi.
yeah.
What's the difference between this and a Raspberry Pi? Just price, or is architecture
Price.
significantly different?
It's a little bit. I think they have different processors. This one has a little bit more horsepower
Okay. A
than
little
even
more oomph
that.
for $30.
The highest Raspberry Pi, which is $35, the Raspberry Pi 3 only has 1 gig of RAM.
And this has got
Uh,
two.
you can go up, yeah, you can go up to two.
Up to two.
Um,
Cool.
Plus, they don't, unless you go, I think the only Ubuntu that runs on a Raspberry Pi, I think, is Ubuntu Mate.
Otherwise, you're using
It, like Raspbian,
yeah.
although I think Ubuntu Mate is taking over as pretty much the most popular Raspberry Pi distro.
Okay. It's all Greek to me. It's a world I've just stayed out of. I maybe I should. No, I'm gonna let guys like you do all that stuff for me, and I'll go. Cool. Can you build me one too? I had a guy today on Twitter, and we'll wrap it with this. I had a guy on Twitter today say, Jim, have you looked at the bot, of creating a strength finder for Gallup, a strength finder bot, so someone could send a note, like, so they could hit, we'll call it the SF bot, and they could put the add SF bot and then put the strength, and it would send them back a description of that, right, type deal, and you could, and I thought, holy crap. I said, I'm going to have my interns work on it this summer. Bots are, all of a sudden, they get real popular.
Yeah, I mean,
last couple weeks.
A lot of the messaging apps are picking up support for bots and stuff.
That's a whole another show. Peter, I apologize it took me so long to get you on here. You've been a faithful listener for the last year and a half or so, maybe two.
I think a year and a half or so.
Year and a half, we'll say. And thanks for jumping on. It was fun. It's great to meet you, local Omaha guy. We're growing. Our numbers are growing in Omaha, which is pretty awesome. We got quite a few podcasters there. Continue to crank out. What kind of you getting good feedback on your own podcast?
I haven't gotten like any.
It's hard. It's really hard. Rennie said he subscribed to it right away, so you got one new subscriber.
Cool.
Out of the deal, but it's Pete's Tech Den, all one word. Pete'sTechDen.wordpress.com.
Yeah.
You want to head out there for now, right? You're going to move it?
For now. I have the other website created. I need to finish some of the editing of it to get it ready.
Get it where it needs to be. Yeah, this whole game of podcasting is a tough one. It's not easy, and I feel like I put out some great content sometimes. Sometimes it's not great. Last week probably being one of those weeks, but because it was all about podcasting last week and no gadgets, and I took a little flack for that one. But it's tough business. I think you're finding that years ago you could create a podcast and you get some listeners right away because there wasn't that many podcasts.
Yeah.
And now there's a gajillion, right?
Yeah, there's a lot.
You're up against some pretty formidable folks, and which makes me want to say thank you to everybody who's listening, both live and however long you've been listening, whether it's just one day or you've been new within the last couple of weeks. Emily, by the way, who's in our chat room right now, thank you for coming out and being like the token lady in our chat room lately. We have tried. I'm pretty sure you're the only one. we have tried for years to make this female friendly. We haven't had a whole lot of success. I do have Shauna Dorsey coming. She's the director of the Interface Code School here in Omaha. She's going to come on. We're going to talk about gadgets, but we're also going to talk about the work she's doing. Some of the work I'm doing at Gallup with code is tied into that, and so I said to Shauna, "Hey, why don't you come on?" And we don't get, besides Hannah from LastPass or Amber from LastPass, we don't get many gals to join us. And in the Blab days, we'd get Hannah to jump in from the help to do that. But Emily, thanks for jumping in. It's great to have you here and at least adding a little bit of girl geekness to some of the things that we're doing. So thanks for jumping us. But Peter, thanks for coming on. Stay around for a little bit. You can stay around for a little bit of post show on that as well. We will say as we kind of bring this one in, the recorded part, in for a landing here, just a couple reminders that, again, if you have comments, things you want to say to me, nice things. I don't really like to read bad things, but if you have nice things to say to me, Jim@theaverageguy.tv. Track me down on Twitter. I'm super active on Twitter right now because I have to be for work. So if you ever want to find me on Twitter, I usually will get back to you pretty quick, at J. Collison over there. Just a reminder, the AverageGuy.tv platform, both web and media hosting, powered by Maple Grove Partners. We talked about them a little bit earlier. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people you know and you trust. I trust them. We're on them. Hopefully you will be too. They make a great WordPress platform. I mean, Christian's got that thing optimized for WordPress. Give it a try. Maple Grove Partners, all one word, maplegrovepartners.com. Plans start, cheapest plans, $10 a month. It's awesome. Give it a try. I want to thank Roger out at WLMN Radio for broadcasting us live over terrestrial radio at Grafton, West Virginia. And so that's a contact I have with Mike. And we will, no, Brian, no June meetup in Omaha. It's not going to happen. We'll just don't have time. Sorry. But it's a good idea. Well, maybe later in the fall. You can also listen to Home Gadget Geeks on the Android iPhone app. It's available. I mentioned it before. Head out to homegadgetgeeks.com, all one word. Of course, built by Spreaker, but supported by our friends over at LastPass. Amber is still on maternity leave. We're excited to get her back and on the show. By the way, every time I do a LastPass show, I get a few comments on, hey, how come you don't cover the other ones? It's because I reach out to them and they don't get back to me. So if you have a contact out there, or you want us to interview somebody, maybe you guys have a contact of someone you'd love for me to have on the show, just let me know. Send me a note. Love to get them on. You know me. We'll do just about anything on Home Gadget Geeks. And so let me know. Send me an email, Jim@theaverageguy.tv, or send it over on Twitter at @jcollison. We'll get them connected. Thanks for using the Amazon Tech Scholarship Fund. That is all available, theaverageguy.tv/Amazon. Every time you use that link, it benefits the network. We can do things like test equipment and the Tech Scholarship Fund. And there's been some good posts out there, both around the stick, the compute stick, and around what Kyle has had for that. We bought Kyle that. Speaking of Kyle, there's no Lopt out there tonight. I wonder where he never misses. So hopefully everything is good there. But we can do that when you purchase through the Amazon affiliate link, theaverageguy.tv/Amazon. We're out here live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out at theaverageguy.tv/live. We've got some cool shows coming up for you. If you've made it this far in the podcast, you are by far the most 5% engaged in what we do. Peter, do you do your show live, or is it just recorded?
I do it live.
And when is it?
I usually do it on Friday at 8:30 p.m.
Friday nights, 8:30 Central?
Yep.
8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, if you want to check that out. Do you have a live page that you send folks to, or how do you do that?
Yeah, there's a live page on I guess just the petestechden.wordpress.com/live.
Cool. Look for the live link when you get out there. A couple cool things coming up. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, we've been talking about these for a while, the AnanaBox. These are the VPN devices. This has Tor capabilities on the Pro here. These guys are coming on the show next week. So I've got two of their reps coming in. Next week's the 21st, right? Yep. Alan and Auguste will be here next week, and we'll do a live interview, live review of these products that are out there. $100 VPN, which is kind of interesting if you need security on the road, and you can see how big it is. It's not very big, so it's just pretty cool. So these guys will be on next week. John Nye is coming back, and he's another Omaha guy. and he's got an upgrade to his Wi-Fi Pineapple, and so he's going to talk some security and some pen testing and some of those things. So John Nye is coming back. Paul Braren, who hasn't been on in a while, Paul will be back with us. I'm sure we'll be talking some VMware and some of the gadgets he's been doing. And then I mentioned May 12th, Shauna Dorsey will be with us. We'll talk a little bit about code and code school and what she's doing here in Omaha, and we'll bring some more Girl Geek factor to Home Gadget Geeks. Again, we're out here every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, on Instagram, /live. And with that, we'll say goodnight, everybody.